close to 90 folks on the line.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session on code quality using LLMs. So today we have Arvind joining us for the session, and also Kavya, who is a Code Without Barriers ambassador, and she's gonna give us a quick intro on Code Without Barriers and what is this about, and we'll dive into the session. Over to you, Kavya.
Thank you so much, Surag and Styava team for organizing this and also giving me the opportunity to address all of you. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. And we are really thrilled that you're taking out an hour of your your precious time, right, to listen to Code Without Barriers and the purpose. So let me dive in a little bit. Yeah. I just want to start by sharing a little bit about the purpose as to why we really felt that we needed this movement, as I like to call it. So we believe that any innovation, any new innovation, whether it is through entrepreneurs, creators, developers, right, in the world, it has to really truly reflect the society that we all wish to serve. So there is no debate today in anyone's mind that every industry, every sector of the society, it is basically being powered by tech. And specifically, if we look at those tech, it's data and AI solutions. So most of the solutions we are seeing are either data centric or going to be more and more AI driven. And of course, there are worries in all our minds, and it's very much debated about the bias that exists in these solutions. And usually we talk a lot about the data and the historic bias that's there in the society that is reflected in the data, right? And it is very fair. It's a very fair observation. What happens is then when solutions are built on top of it, we are either wrongly representing some part of the society, or worse still, maybe even completely alienating some groups of the society. But beyond the data itself or the systemic bias itself, what we also thought we need to look at it is how are these solutions being built? Or sort of more importantly, who are building these solutions? It's us, right? Us, and more importantly, all of you here on the call from the community, right? This is the community of technologists. This is the community of coders and developers and data scientists and application developers and the entire group of the tech community. We are building these solutions, and developers are truly the lifeblood of all these technology solutions. So if that is the case, right, if we are seeing these transformations built by these solutions, built by this community of technologists, and at the end of it, it makes us think that this is nothing but the choices that is made by these technologies when we are designing these solutions, when we are developing these products. And these are the solutions that are going to touch every aspect of our lives. But then it again begs the question, are these teams a real true representation of the society itself for whom we are building the solutions? Today, if we look at it, it is not so, right? And I'll quickly show you the data points on this. But by now, we now have a good understanding that building diversity in the developer data and AI teams could be a key for us to unlock and identify, and maybe even to a large extent, rectify those biases that are existing historically in data, in systems. Because when we have teams who are true representation of the society, then we hope that we can able to address those biases, right? And also addressing these biases are not just for the tech industry itself, or not just for the solutions that are being built itself, but it is basically crucial for all of us, for you and me and every one of us, right, whose life experiences in itself from morning till night. You can just imagine how many apps, how many solutions that are touching our lives, right? In every experience, whether it is getting credits approved for our loans or getting school admissions for our kids, right? Our life experiences are determined by these technologies. So that's the power of Code Without Barriers for me personally, right? I see this as a powerful and a purposeful step where all of us as a tech community, we come together, right? To do what? To ensure that the developer teams, you, me, all of us who are part of this community, day by day, team by team, organization by organization, we are enabling to build teams, right, who are true representation of the society that we wish to serve. It's a little bit philosophical, I know, the messaging, but that is what drew me to this project. And I've been supporting Code Without Barriers since 2021, since the inception of the program. And I'm really thrilled to see how, with the power of the community and power and belief of each one of you, this program has actually spread its wings. And we have now expanded it to all across Asia. And this is how we aim to close the gender gap in this region. Asia, which is touted to be the fastest growing region, right, in cloud adoption, in AI adoption, and across all digital technology sectors. And Microsoft hopes to be that platform, that connecting layer between the talent that we see in Asia and two organizations across Asia that are giving opportunities for this talent so that we can drive that inclusive economic growth. And I spoke about the data, right? Like, what does data tell us? And this is based on the World Economic Forum 2024 gender gap, right? Yes, there has been progress, right? Organizations have been taking a lot of steps towards closing these gaps, which is a good sign. And we are close to about 28.2% of women's share in STEM, which is, again, positive growth. But if we start double clicking on that number, right, women still remain underrepresented in STEM and only still about 1/10 of the C-suite leadership. And if we look at the specific technologies around cloud and data and AI and cybersecurity and around programming fields, the gender disparity is a little more glaring. And on the left side, you are seeing another data point, right? If we look at the open source communities across just ASEAN, not even all up to Asia, right? Just ASEAN, around 67 communities. When we started talking about these initiatives, we were looking at less than 10% diversity. So what can we do to bring more diverse talent into these communities? How can we, as community leaders or representatives or even members of these communities, act as voice for change? That is something that we want to look at. And how does Microsoft act as a platform, act as that connecting tissue between two sides of this coin? Because if you really look at the challenge, it's an age-old chicken and egg story, right? On one side, hey, where are the talent? How can we nurture the diverse talent in the society? And then on the other side, how can we ensure that there is enough opportunity that we are creating for the talent that's coming out? So this is the concept or the base of the Code Without Barriers program. So we looked at, on the talent enablement and skilling side, how can we then drive more skilling, more certification to really build the talent pool in Asia with the diverse female community? And how can we nurture more women into the open source communities? How can we support them, mentor them, handhold them, right? And build that confidence as they bring more talent to bridge the gap that we see in the organizations. And on the other side, how do we create more partnerships with organizations, right, to give opportunities for the diverse talent, for women in the community, whether it is through internships, apprenticeships, hiring, right? And how can we support them through mentoring and even through practical problem solving like hackathons? So this is the model around which Code Without Barriers is built. And how have we fared so far? Right? And this is the data that you're seeing on the screen now. As I mentioned, it was started in 2021 with the sole aim of bridging this gap on both sides. So what we see here are some of the key pillars or levers under which we have been mobilizing the work. And on the skilling, based on numbers that we have till date, we have been able to skill around 38,000 women developers. On partnerships, we now have organizations, about 53 organizations onboarded. across iconic customers and partners of Microsoft's. And these organizations act as the engine who then provide opportunities for internships and job placements for the talent from the community. Mentorships, we have been running year-round mentoring circles, about 127 mentors. Many of you may be here on the call today. So thank you for stepping up and supporting the community, and 300 plus mentees who have been actively receiving the mentorship and coaching to guide their career transitions and directions. Community, of course, here, all of us. We have 82 community partners, and we have delivered 12 events. And in fact, really glad that Sindhura, I'm not sure, Sindhura, if you're on the call. Thank you so much for leading the communities for Code Without Barriers across Asia. And it's great to see this expansion into the virtual community events as well. The local face-to-face events that we run are the glue, but the virtual events allows us to scale and bring some of these learnings across to wider audience as well. And I know that this is the fourth or the fifth virtual event that we are running across ASEAN, and I hope all of you like the format and are going to enjoy the technical session that comes after my pitch. And last but not least, the hackathons, right? We have had till date 4,500 participants and 63 projects on which actively the open source community talent have hacked upon. And maybe you have, all of you here have helped solve many of the projects or problems that the industry or the organizations have put forth for bringing new ideas and new innovation. So that's where we are, like a quick snap of where this program has been so far. This shows us a high level snapshot of, I mentioned about 53 partner organizations who have come on board, right? These are some of the names that you see here, well recognizable. Not sure if any of the representatives are here on the call. Thank you for the partnership. Many of Microsoft's customers, partners, organizations who could act as engines for providing opportunities for the talent in the community, right? But I want to go back and talk a little bit about community itself, which is the glue, as I said, which gives us the energy and which helps us to keep that passion up. So 82 community partners. Thank you to each of our community partners who are enabling us to keep the dialogue open. ASEAN, so many events and meetups like the one that's happening right now. Now with the expansion of the program into Asia, we are seeing now ANZ meetups and India meetups as well. So really glad to see all of you enjoying and participating in these meetups. And what that sort of also gives us is to build on those success stories. And this really warms my heart to see this. I know the font is like too small there, but this one here is a post from one of the students in Malaysia who participated in the hackathon and actually presented her solution to the judges there, talking about her story and the confidence that it built her. You know, really glad to see some of these stories and anchors us back on the purpose, right? Are we able to make a difference in the society? And here I'm starting a new position thanks to CWB. One of the community members who has taken the trainings through the program, skilled herself, upskilled herself, certified, and taken a leap in her career. So many such stories. I will not drain the slide, but just warms our heart to see this. A little more, a little more on the success stories. Here is a story from Shankari, who is our CWB Hackathon winner in 2023, landed a job after a gap of 20 years. It really means a lot to ensure that we are bringing back women into the career paths, right? Thanks to Code Without Barriers and the AI skills and confidence gained from the community support. Amazing. And kudos to Shankari for taking that step and taking the support from the community to drive her career aspirations. And here is another one from Lawrence Liu, who's the director of AI Singapore. From about 10 to 15% women representation in their cohorts, the cohort representation has gone up to 25%. So that is a massive jump of about 10 to 15% because we have started proactively looking at this data and what can we do to move the needle. And of course, another one from one of our partners, Prudential, who is our client partners as well, in how the approach and the support from the Code Without Barriers community has helped them as an organization move the needle on how they can mentor and support the community. So just a few stories. I wanted to share this because it's always anchors us that if we are able to drive the change that we wish to drive. So with that, I would like each one of you to welcome to Code Without Barriers if you are not already a member. For those members from the community who have been supporting and taking advantage of the offerings from the program, thank you. Thank you for doing that. And on the screen right now, you see the QR codes for you to join the program and also join the LinkedIn group. So please do take advantage of it. And I'm pausing here. If any of you want to click the QR code and would like to join us as part of the community. And with that, thank you so much. For Microsoft, we truly believe in our mission of empowering every person and every organization. And if we have to do that mission, we also believe we need to represent that society that we wish to empower. And that's where I'll stop and hand it back to Stiava team. And I don't want to keep you from the exciting session that's lined up for you. Thank you. Enjoy the session.
Thank you, Kavya, for that detailed information on Code Without Barriers. And we can really see the enthusiasm on the team for the effort that we put into the Code Without Barriers, and that we can kind of get jump into the session. We have Arvind Patavu, who is on talking about code quality for your codes using LLMs, and he's gonna give you the overview on it and how you can do it. Just wanted to share that the session is recorded and also the certificate of participation at the end of the session. Be sure to claim it, and you can use the chat box and Q&A session for questions. So be sure to use it so that we don't lose your questions, and we can take it at the Q&A session. And with that, I would like to move the mic to Arvind to get started with the session.
Hear me? Is it clear?
Yes, I think there was some issue, but I think we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm just studying if there's anything wrong. Okay, it's fine. I think let me just say share the screen and then maybe we could start from there.
Sure.
Okay, I think let me just share the screen and then maybe we could reshare again when if possible. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to present. I guess I hope you're able to see my screen. Uh, uh, Shrak, can you give
Yes,
me
we
a
can see
one?
it.
Yeah, okay, fine, great. So, hi, hello, I'm Arvind, and it was a great session, Kavya, because I think um, it is a very important to like kind of participate or like have these sort of initiatives that will help in general about society, and then also like help drive people towards a common goal. And I'm so glad that I was able to give a session on with code with barriers area, and I've done a lot of these sessions with different diversity groups in the SE Asia community, and I'm always thrilled about the participation and the amount of enthusiasm that people usually have. So nice and so glad, and hoping to do more with code with barriers as well. And thanks for the awesome session. So moving on, I just quickly want to give an update about what I'm going to talk about and who I am and everything. I don't want to like take more time in presenting than maybe like take more questions and all, or have answer more questions in the community. So I'm Arvind, and I work at a company called Code Rabbit. And what we do is like code quality. We do a bunch of things. We are like an AI native code reviewer that's used in many open source projects and also several other enterprises. So So more importantly, I guess large language models, ever since they have come, we have been generating a lot of stuff with them. It could be our emails, it could be our Instagram posts, it could be like, text, image, audio, whatnot, right? We're generating a lot of stuff. And part of the thing, we are also generating code with it. And when you generate code, imagine when humans were writing code, we tend to make more mistakes. And now LLMs were writing code, and then code quality becomes a major issue or major thing to look at when LLMs are writing. And these LLMs are improving, exponentially. But in this talk, we're going to talk about how code quality plays around with LLMs. And I'll just give you a lay of the land, but I'm not going to bore you down with more details and specifics. I also want to give as much as detail in terms of like where you can go and learn more about code quality and what sort of issues that LLMs can point if you are looking at from a different perspective. So if you don't have any questions, I think if you have questions, please feel free to drop a note. But otherwise, if you don't have any questions, like I think I'm just going to get ahead and take the questions towards the end. So the agenda is, of course, welcome to the LLM world, and then or software engineering, how is it is getting impacted, and then different code generation models and code quality in pre-LLM era and code quality in Copilot era. We are seeing a lot of copilots for different use cases, and how all of this is uh, getting ahead. And I guess these logos or names don't need any introduction. But as you could see, today we have several, popular consumerish, LLM chatbot platforms like OpenAI, Claude. There are interesting open source chatbot platforms like Llama, and Mistral. These are also like open source models, and all of them are trying to drive ahead and improve the transformer based architecture, large language models. And these are models like GPT, these are models like Opus, Sonnet, Llama, and Mistral's, mixture of experts. All of them are a shot at the innovation and taking the line a bit ahead, trying to make sure that we automate all the irrelevant things that are hurting our productivity, and that helps us as humans to get better, right? And helps us humans to skill up faster. This is just like, I think this is just like the moment where we have seen a pulley or a manual rabbit to an engine world, like wherein we have an industrial revolution, right? So similar way, we are just upgrading or improving the way that we kind of getting ahead in this journey. So, and we all need to be very much like how Kavya was saying, that we all need to upskill, and we all need to join these groups and then get upskilled ourselves. So that way we are ready for this future. Now, we all use one of these tools. We all try to interact with them, use that as help. Of course, there is a risk, like because it hallucinates even when you are using it for regular tasks, but they are helping us in some way or other. The usual architecture, of course, like these are like companies, and they have these chatbots and they're popular, but they are also available as an API. For example, GPT is available as an open Azure OpenAI service, and then you could just simply use go to Azure, build this one, and build this for your enterprise. And how people are building on top of that API, they're building a RAG app. RAG is Retrieval Augmented Generation app. There are tons and tons of resources, tons and tons of architecture patterns, and a lot of community discussions. Discord specifically dedicated to rags. It's like an initiative by itself. And how to build this rag app, people use it directly from their system, or people may be using it from their laptop, or another service. They connect this to the rag app. It's as good as like an enterprise service, and then they kind of interact this with an LLM, and then infer and get ideas, and then generate interesting stuff. A RAG app could be an example of like an online doctor prescription help. A RAG app could be example of a customer service bot. It could be something that a developer could ask questions and get debug and get more solutions. So there could be several flavors of these RAG apps, but at large, people are using kind of like LLMs to kind of interact and then produce relevant results. And that's what is more important thing. But does it mean that LLMs are only text based? Can I only generate text? Can I only generate images? No, right? We could also generate code. There are several coding models, open source coding models. Some of these are also available on both your GitHub and then your Azure cloud providers like Azure. So basically, all of these are interesting and amazing models that generate code by itself. Like, say, for example, DeepSeek is one very interesting model, uh, actually made in Asia. And then Quen, which is another interesting model, made in like Asia, which Spen Coder is very popular. DeepSeek is a only coding specific model where you ask, say, how do I generate a string palindrome, and then it will give you the code for it. So, so more of that, right? So, and then CodeStral, which is also a popular model, and it also like does code generation, and these models will generate code. These are like raw models that generate that code. Now, as you see, code generation is a given use case. People generate code, people work with code. There are co-pilots. GitHub itself has a lot of co-pilot customers and users every day in, day out, and they were one of the pioneers in this code generation area. But there are more things that are talked a bit less about code with LLMs. That is more code quality and security. I'm not going to deep down into security, but of course, like you could talk about when you talk about code quality. But then a bit a detour or like a bit more about code quality is in the traditional era, right? And yeah, okay. I would also want to talk about like say how people are using some of these tools. There are many interesting tools, like say, for example, I think everyone knows GitHub Copilot, and I think Cursor to some extent because it's in the talk of the town for more reasons. There are a ton of AI coding assistants, a ton. There is no end. There's so many of them, and I think developers can literally window shop entire day. It's just like having a JavaScript package, and each one of these models, I mean, sorry, the services, they are like as good as things like ChatGPT and Claude and a lot of those chatbots, and they serve really well and they give you answers. It's just that what level of intuitiveness that you want really with. Do you want to generate code at the line when you're writing? Do you want to have a chat box beside your IDE? Do you want to probably let it write a stub code for you fully? Do you want to refactor the code by just editing the file? So there are tons of things that you could do with this, and it's going to be very amazing. Especially when you look at like VS Code or Cursor today, it has a lot of extensions like these. There are open source solutions also, like called Aider, where you could link your own model, and then you start doing this own thing. So code generation is a given case. That's what I want to say. Code generation is something that is given already millions of developers. I'm not saying like thousands or hundreds of thousands. I'm saying millions of developers are already using code generation models today to generate code from LLM. Everyone has been generating code, but no one has been reviewing or checking the code that is generated, and no one is cleaning and debugging the code as it generates, right? So there isn't in the traditional software world. What happens is here. Okay, let me talk a bit more about like traditional software world, right? What happens when you kind of like checking the code, or when you kind of have the code being before shipped to production. I don't know how many of you are following the same workflow or a bit more different, or at all following this workflow or automated by a DevOps engineer today, because most of this work also has been automated. So more importantly, like yeah, so when you have code that is checked in and code review happens at that point of time, there are many checks and balances that people put on code. Say for example, it could be a static testing, it could be a dynamic testing which contains bounds checker, etc. It could be several other details, or like unit testing. It could be smoke testing. There are multiple types of testing that lets you to do. In fact, you would not call it as testing. You are not writing a test case or something. You are following or putting together a tool like Biomi.js or ESLint. I think you would have seen linters are very famous in finding static analysis issues. So in similar way, you do all of this, and then you can pick up and then you do more stuff. So code quality in traditional world is really a paramount, and people do all of this. and how AI is going to help all of this. So like, in code quality today, uh, even without LLMs, like, when you run these linters, it points out so many issues that are probably false positive, that are not really kind of like, the things that you want to really look at, or fixing it. These are okayish things that a human developer would really understand. Uh, but with AI, you can actually ensure that right issues are getting fixed, ensuring coding standard and security is followed. You could also find uh, maybe like bugs early in the cycle and then fix them. You could also do automated error detection, right? And more importantly, say for example, when you raise a PR request using GitHub or any of the code, like the Git platforms, and then you wait for a human reviewer to come and give some comments so that you feel confident about the code, right? There's peer review is a very common thing. I'm not saying like, uh, you senior should review. Like, I'm just saying peer review is a very common thing. And CodeRabbit actually helps in doing peer reviews as well. So it's an interesting thing to look at from that point of view as well. I'm just saying not just one reviewer, but then AI, generative AI is so instrumental, and showing some examples in pointing out some of these very interesting issues. Now, if you look at like, the entire lay of the land, like, how people were looking at this entire developer workflow and all, these are interesting tools. You could just give it a shot, especially if you haven't heard things like this. These are open source static analysis tools, like say ESLint, PyLint for Python, Checkstyle PMD for Java, Rubocop for Ruby. Then there is a PHP Stan, there's Biomi.js. There's a ton of these, static analyzer codes that helps you to do this. And then there's a ton of like, tools which are scanners, like say Sneak does security specific scanning, Sonar does code quality. Sonar Cube is a very popular tool that helps you to do a lot of stuff. And then Code SE is kind of like another tool that does scanning. And there are many, like SemGrep is more specific for semantic rules, right? And of course, like on the other side, AI focused, and then more in that area, like say there's GitHub Copilot, there is Cursor, there's Codium, there's Tab9, there's Tracer, there's a bunch of these tools which are AI focused, in happens inside the developer IDE, and kind of like, help you suggest code generation tips. Not just remember, it's like in the developer IDE, it's code generation, but when you come is to like, central pipeline or something, you need something more. So let me take a stop, and then check if you have any questions. And then what I'll show is, I'll quickly show you some demos on how AI can potentially help you. And probably even if you have a PR change, if you have a commit change, you could put that in today with a code generation system. And then what sort of issues that you should look in your own workflow, we will talk about that. So how are we doing? Any questions till now? No. Okay, let me quickly reshare. So I just want to like, showcase something that's very interesting, and something that happened right now, right? So these AI can work even when we are not really writing the code, when we are really kind of like, when we are sleeping. So AI can work and review and do all of these things. So I have this specific project called Anki. They are very popular for open source API management, and they are using one of the AI code reviewers, CodeRabbit, of course. And it's an open source project, and CodeRabbit is free for open source project. There are a lot of companies that do this. So it it what AI can do, for example, when you come to something like this, say you when you're checking a file and raise a PR, you could look at change summary. Say if your colleague or some friend you have, they've raised a file, and there are like 20 different files in the PR review. And then how do you kind of like get productive? Because like, what is changed in each file? That's the thing, right? Like, so here when you come to the code review, you can see change summary for each page, and this is something that actually happened right now, right? This is done 35 minutes ago, and then we are seeing AI work. I think somebody who raised it, and then AI work as soon as possible, and give these results. So which is very interesting to me as well. So, and it gives you that details. Sometimes they can also tell you like, what is like the code looks like. I'll see if I could do it, show it like a code sequence diagram or something. but on top of it, it gives you some sort of, like, it can give you specific issues, right? Say for example, uh, for like, how does this code look like? Say this code, would it work with the existing one? How does it work with the existing stuff? It can, the AI could automatically execute uh, this code and see how it really goes and validates with the existing code. It can check with your Jira and linear issues to see whether this particular change would fix the X or Y issue. So it's like it's using that as a knowledge base. So all of this is, remember, all of these are helping us get productive. You just raise a PR, go get a coffee. Meanwhile, the review comments are ready. And you generated the code by yourself using a tool like Copilot, and you used your knowledge to kind of edit the code, and then sent a fix to the GitHub repo. And then in the GitHub repo, you see all of these comments that a human reviewer has to make by breaking his workflow. So the reviewing is happening automatically. And maybe if you find all of these issues correct, then you could do more. Say for example, is saying, like, refactor suggestion, say that, can you rename prop k? Usually developers are, like, take a lot of time. Probably name our kids much easier and better and quicker, but we name variable names after hours and hours of thinking, right? We spend a lot of time thinking about the variable names. So it's saying, like, you should rename this variable name as to permission key, because it's kind of like relevant to that context. Similarly, like, it can also point out more issues related to um, how your overflow behavior would, like, it's more relevant to that code. I think maybe some of us would not understand unless you read the code base, but then AI is able to do it automatically. So what I meant to show you here more is, like, the various options that AI could do with code quality and code improvement. And these are the things that you could implement in your workflow today. Like, you can just go to one of these open source chat windows, and then you can ask those same questions through your prompts. Can you generate unit tests for this? Can you find out what are some potential issues? Question the AI back, and then you will be able to do it. And with generative AI, the good part it is, you will be able to get a lot of details. These are not like, models that generate some classifier type information. These are models that can generate more interesting stuff. Say for example, again, see, it says, like, use the const instead let data, right? So, and then it can generate a fix as well for you to commit as well. So you can click, do a one click, and then simply suggest. So yeah, there are tons and tons and tons of stuff. The another advantage with something like, generative AI, is because the entire knowledge is compressed into a one common model, right? It could be a bigger model, it could be a smaller model. Now, because that has been done, you get static linting, like, these are the tools that are already open source and available. So you don't need to write a linter value or linter code to just get this thing done. So yeah, so there are many things like these. And then, with AI and coding, I think it's only going to get better, and get easier. So if you have any questions regarding more regarding, like, how you would want to use AI in your regular coding practice, I'm happy to help. Uh, but otherwise, uh, but otherwise, like, you could scan this QR code. If you have any questions, you could definitely ask me more. I'm happy to help. Here are my coordinates, and then you could maybe learn more about code quality by scanning this QR code. And happy to help if you are having any other questions or anything relevant. Yeah, thanks, Chirag.
There is a question in the chat box, as everybody here doesn't have the mic access. Um,
Okay.
one person was asking, if we want to change the code, what is the procedure with LLM?
So you could use your copilot, or, like, in the VS Code, or you could use, say for example, your cursor or some of these IDEs, and ask it to edit the file. It's as simple as it is today. Say for example, if you have a line of code, and then you can chunk it, and then, you could give it to it. Of course, one of the very important things that we need to look at is how your enterprise is thinking about all of this. Most enterprises now today are okay with sharing, working with these LLMs, but also check before you are sending your code or code snippets to any one of these code generation platforms, because it's important that you are sharing the right amount of like right type of code, and then with right type of permissions. So otherwise, you're breaking the compliance in your enterprise. So please make sure that that is definitely happening. Yeah. So I see another question about,
I think in the Q&A session, there is one more question, which is the
yeah,
same person was asking.
how effective is LLM with already existing project and multiple team members? Oh yeah, the one that I showed is the open source project that I showed. I don't know if you could still see it. Yeah, or let me change it. So the open source project that I showed has like tons of open source contributors, and they are using AI, and it's very effective to actually improve productivity of all the developers. And together, it helps you to bring down the collaboration tax, wherein if you bunch of people are sitting together and trying to collaborate, I think AI would help you to minimize and make it progress a bit better. So I think it's very effective with all these LLMs. And the important part here is apps like CodeRabbit. They are trying to bring in that UX as well to your own native place, where it could be a PR review place. For Copilot, it's your VS Code. So all of these places, and then it's not like stuck away in a specific chatbotish platform like ChatGPT or Claude or all of these places. It's just going to come to a place where you really code, where you religiously sit and write code, right? So that's very interesting as well. Yeah, and okay, I think I'm not seeing the Q&A place. I'm just maybe seeing the questions from there. Uh, yeah, yeah, I think those are the questions that I have. I could see if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. But feel free to drop me a chat or ask a question on my LinkedIn, or even if you have more questions on generally about code generation, happy to help answer more. Surag, you're speaking on mute.
Thank you for reminding, or else I was going to talk all of it without turning it on. But yeah, I was saying that thank you everyone for joining, and we could, and thank you for Arvind for joining and sharing his knowledge. We could take a group, what do you say, selfie with everybody, if it's okay for everyone to turn on their camera and quickly take a. Uh, I'm gonna give everybody their camera access. Let me just turn it on. I'm gonna spotlighting. Okay, everyone can turn on their camera, and we could have a group photo together, and we can end the session. Um, if Let's give a minute to everyone, and then we could take it. Is there anybody turning on? Like nobody's turning on. Hmm. It would be great if you can turn on the camera. I'm hoping everyone having it. Uh, just turn on your camera so that we can take a screenshot quickly. Um, yeah, see a couple of people are joining. I would appreciate rest of you can also turn it on. Um, just for a quick minute, and I can take a screenshot. Let's give it a minute. Awesome. There's more people joining. I would appreciate. Okay, couple more. I'm gonna take a screenshot right now. First one. One more. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone for that. Appreciate it. And that's it. I'm gonna share the link um to joining for the certificate, and also our YouTube channel where you can, um, learn about so far we had talked, and also everything will be shared over the YouTube as a recording and link that we so far talked. So that's it for the today's session, and I really appreciate that you guys have joined us. And again, thank you for Aravind for taking the time to joining. And it's early there. I really appreciated that we could do it. Uh, so yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah. Anyways, thank you everyone, and have a great rest of the Thursday. And the weekend is closing in on us. So have a good weekend as well. Thank you everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.